I'm AG Starling, and my debut sports romance, Checkered Hearts, just came out June 10th. It's Formula One romance, Monterey, California. I teach philosophy, um, and I have a dog, Mr. Darcy, beautiful dog. I had to put him. I bribed him with treats because I'm afraid he might come in here. He's a sweetheart, but he might disturb us. So, um, yeah, and I live in a rural area, and
What inspired Checkered Hearts?
ah, okay. Well, as I said, Checkered Hearts is a Formula One romance. Okay. Now, I really have to give my agent her due, Lane Spencer, from the Night Agency, because I was writing sports romance, but I wasn't writing Formula One romance, even though I love Formula One and I love cars. Um, I grew up with my father and his friends loved cars, fast cars, um, and would work on their cars all the guys would come over and work on their cars every weekend when I was growing up. So I've always loved racing and cars. Um, but it just never, I don't know, just didn't occur to me. And then she said, why don't you, because, I hear some editors are looking for this. And I was like, oh, this will be fun. Um, and, because it's something I love, right? It just puts everything together. And it's like, okay. And the first thing I knew instantly was that there was going to be a female racer. There were going to be two racers. That I knew. I'm a huge Lella Lombardi fan. It's been much too long. I watch women racing as well as the Formula One, and I knew that. I knew that, and I'm a real sucker for enemies to lovers, and this
Perfect
rivals
one.
to lovers. I'm a huge sucker for it. I just like them, so that when they get together, it's just the way my brain works, like, and my heart maybe, works. So I knew that was going to be the case. But then, it's so interesting how stories take hold. And I know different writers are different. Everyone has their own method. And I know there's the thing about the plotter versus the pantser.
Yeah.
And I get that question. And some people just know. They just know. They're a plotter, and that's what they are. And maybe I'm a hybrid or something, because
there's a lot of authors who are, yeah.
I can't really plot. I don't plot out everything. I tend to, it's interesting because the pantser mode then eventually leads me into the plotter mode, because it's like my brain starts working and I'm in the scene, and then I start thinking, and taking notes and thinking about the structure, and even if I'm not writing, I know it's always a good sign, because it doesn't happen at the beginning, and it gets a little frustrating. I'm like, oh God, but it's always, I know I'm in a good place when the character starts speaking to me, and I'm like washing the dishes or taking the dog for a walk, or just remember, if I'm in the car, I can't remember.
It's like, we're here. We're here.
Record yourself. Yeah. Because then it's really, they're fleshing out for me. It's,
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess having a Formula One sports romance is really good, because you're now getting a lot more female fans who are readers who are like, I actually do want to have an F1 romance. Satisfy my
Drive to
need,
Survive. I'm just going to say the note 5-5, Carlos Sainz. He's my inspiration for Rocco. Just look at the man. He's adorable, So, yeah, no. And I think that's good. Well, I'm sure they think it's good too. Are you kidding me? The more fans, the better, right? And it's so exciting. And the thing about racing is in other sports, you see the physicality, the hockey, the basketball, you see the move. With this, you're watching the car and you're watching them in the car, but the level, the fitness they have to have, and the concentration and the reflexes, how quick, and they, just timing and strategy to brake at the right way. I think it's fascinating.
It's I've only recently got into it, but I'm loving it, and it's like, I myself liking it for a while.
The only thing that sucks is it's like, oh God, it was like when I was into tennis too, oh no, the time, the
Yeah.
clock.
Timing sucks all the
I'm
time.
never on the right time.
No.
So it disrupts the sleep pattern. That's the
Yeah.
only down for
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
What you what drew you to writing in the first place?
Ah, well, I always loved stories. I always loved stories, and the kid who grew up, my mother would read stories to me when I was very young, going to sleep, um, and I remember I was never a kid. My poor mother, I feel for her. I was never a kid who napped. I just couldn't nap. I know, terrible, awful. Um, and I remember when I was in preschool, they always had that. It was an enforced, my mother knew that. She doesn't nap, let her go. But when I was in preschool, it was enforced. Oh, have your apple juice, have your snack. And then, a certain time of the day, everyone was to lie down and nap. And I never could fall asleep and so I just tell myself stories, I just, and I just I don't know. I guess I'm a bit of a nerd. I love stories. I love reading, you know. I love this thing about creating a world and in particular in romance, it's especially nice because everything works as it should at the end, at least as I see it.
Yeah.
And that's really nice because I know real life doesn't always work that
Work
way.
out. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I always reading, always, even though I didn't get I know a lot of writers, not all of them, but they get English degrees, and that's like a classic degree, I guess, for writing. But my degree is in philosophy, and that's what I teach. Um, but I always liked stories, you know. I mean, yeah.
And
So
you start from like telling, always loving stories, and then just writing them yourself. And it's like, yep, as you do your first one, you're like, I can keep doing this. It's not too bad.
yeah, and I'll tell you, I wrote one. I Somebody else asked me this. I think it was 9 because we did it for a class, and let me tell that, and it was fun putting we actually, you put a book cover together, and that was really fun and everything. But I remember the story was lame, really bad. It was supposed to be like a mystery, but there was a pancakes involved. It was just this. But to me, I thought it was the most wonderful. I mean, I had so much fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So always, yeah, and yeah.
How did you
But
choose which characters to focus the story around?
okay, well, as I said, I knew immediately. Oh, well, okay, because it was, Formula One, we were going to have, but you could do engineers or that too. But the classic approach is to deal with the drivers, and I knew that we're going to have a woman driver, you know. So that's Nico. So I knew that, and and I in the back of my head constantly, and some people have picked up on this. Well, I post a lot about him too, but Carlos was in my head the whole time with Rocco.
Yeah.
He just they're different, but it's like, my friends have said they're different people, Rebecca. I know, in my head they're not. Um, but as far as like, so it was going to be them, but then it's interesting. Other characters come in, the secondary
Yeah.
characters, and it 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 it's so interesting. Like I said, I knew obviously there were going to be rivals. I needed to, and I debated about would they be on different teams, but then I wanted them on the same team because Formula One's interesting that way. You're teammates, but you're still competing
Yeah,
against each other,
definitely.
and in some ways more so because you drive in the same car.
Yeah.
Theoretically, you're driving the same car, built by the same engineers. Um, and so if somebody like Rocco's thinking this, if she drives better than I do, if she
Yeah.
wins, if she beats me in the same car,
Yeah.
he can't fathom that, because he's been at it for quite a while, although he's, struggling. So I knew they had to be, and again, the enemies to lovers. So I set it up that they were having a social media war. In fact, the book starts with a social media exchange where they're
Yeah.
just
It's
snark
really
upon snark with the saucy, snarky sauce.
yeah.
Just,
It's the
yeah,
best.
to to set it up. Yeah. But the other stuff, it's so funny. It Emily, it's like, how did the other stuff come to me? And I'm thinking, God, I should keep a journal alongside, because um, I have to say it's a bit of a mystery. It's almost like my brain is
Mm,
figuring it out, but it's not telling me yet. And then it tells me. But then sometimes I look. Some of it you have to edit.
yeah.
Oh, people tell you no, this needs. So you're conscious. I need to do this. But the thing that I love about writing and that fascinates me is the stuff that comes, and I don't really know where it
You don't
comes
know where
from.
it's
It
come
makes it,
from. It's just there.
yeah, it feels like magic. And and I know it's not, I guess, but there's a thrill. For me, there's a thrill in that. Yeah.
Did that process having a sort of an idea of like who you were going to base the characters on help with your character building and fleshing them out?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes, I think it did, because again, I knew they had to be antagonistic, right? And then there had to be a reason for it. So then you start getting to what their story is, you know? And I also thought with Nico, look, only female, and she goes up from F3. She moves up from F3 to F1, and it's rare, but it's happened. It
Mm.
has happened before. Um, Even though I love the racing, I still did research. I was like, I'm sure I got to make sure. I hope I didn't get anything wrong. I tried. I tried to get everything pretty accurate, as accurate as I could. Um, but I knew. I thought this this is a tough girl, tough
Yeah.
woman, to go through what she goes through, and then that sort of built into, she get through a lot in life, which Nico does, because her
Yeah.
backstory is quite, complex. She didn't have the lovely family life that Rocco did.
Mm.
So that kind of helped me with her. And to tell you the truth, Rocco, I mean, yeah, of course. I'm thinking Carlos, so sexy, gorgeous. But there's that adore, you watch, Carlos make the pancakes and everything.
Yeah.
So exactly, right? And so naturally to me, the point was going to be Rocco's putting a wall up. Look, as Charles and Nico say, he's annoying, arrogant, a-hole,
Yeah.
prick. And he is,
Mhm.
and the things he says, and he even knows it,
Yeah.
but he can't, she just gets under his skin. Um, and so, but I knew he was going to have, I mean, if you read the story, the sweet side, where he almost seems like, a little boy,
Yeah.
even though he's just, macho guy.
Not so much.
Yeah, not so much. So he's kind of,
Yeah.
it's funny because, of course, we always have that thing, like, um, is he alpha? Is he a wolf? Is he a golden retriever? And that,
Yeah.
and I started thinking about that with Rocco. I thought, what is he? Because he's kind of a
It's
little
kind of
bit of
both.
a hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the second book, which we're working on right now, I'm thinking, well, it kind of goes the other way. He's like a golden retriever, but then maybe he becomes more. Well, I don't know. Yeah, because some are so clear.
Yeah.
Some
And
are
some
like,
are not.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite moment in the book to write?
Oh gosh, oh gosh. There, yeah. Um, oh God, there are a few favorite moments, but okay. Well, okay. If it's a favorite moment with respect to having like fun with it,
Yeah.
um, then maybe it would be when she brings his coffee order after he does this terrible, tweet, really insulting to her, and so she gives him his comeuppance, and that like exchange between them. But then I think if it well, also I'll just say the pizza incident. If you read it, you'll know what it is. I won't say anything more. The pizza incident too, because I love the nieces, Sophia and Beatrice, Rocco's nieces. They're hilarious. Um, but I think, and without giving too much away, toward the final race, the
Final.
final race, when Rocco's thinking, there's a line in particular that I like, when he says, yet because he loved her, but it was really because of all the things he wanted her, of all the things he wanted, of all the things he could ever want, he wanted her most. And that kind of like, for me, I'm
Got you.
good with cheese. I love cheese.
The cheese, you need cheese in romance though. You do.
It's terrible because even me, I'm like cringy sometimes when I write this stuff, but I do really love cheese.
Yeah.
So there it is, you know, on my plate and in my romance.
Romance, yeah. How has writing and publishing a book changed the way you see yourself, if it has?
Hmm. Um, I don't I don't know if it's changed the way I see myself, although I'm not going to kid you. That's for me, even though it's not like I ever had this idea, oh, I want to be a writer. But I always, the stories,
Mm.
it really is a dream come true. And for me, I want to just write more. Just like, can I just write more? And can I just
I'll
write
happily
more when
write
people
more.
read them? Yeah, because I just love it. Um, so it's kind of like, I want to say enriched it, enlarged my life. And here's the thing that really um, amazed me, but I didn't anticipate this, but on like social media, getting to know some of these readers that I still we communicate now, and it's
Yeah.
so cool, and they talk about the story, and I didn't, I don't know, I, I don't know, I wasn't prepared for that,
Hmm.
and that I really. It's like feeling like they're kindred spirits out there, and the fact that I could speak to someone and I've never met them. They're
Yeah.
miles away. In Australia or wherever, way far away from me. That but I will say this: I'm terrible at juggling things. I don't know what happens with my time. I feel like I'm using it. I'm not really a lazy person. I don't think, but I'm amazed how people can juggle things because
Mm.
um, yeah. And even doing things like this, I'm like, oh gosh, now I got to do. I realize how small my life is, my little life
Yeah.
here where I live. Yeah, because I don't have children and I'm not married and that, so I don't have to juggle that,
Yeah.
like
It's
other
just
people
writing.
do. Yeah,
Mm.
but for some reason, I'm always like, you know, and now I'm on the summer. We don't, until um, late August, we don't start up again. I have one summer school class, but it's online, so it's different.
Makes it easier though, when you don't have the teaching side of it. You got plenty
Oh,
more time.
definitely. And well, the teaching I love. It's just the
Yeah.
grading. you know, it's funny because just like with the writing, I think I'm fortunate that way. I still feel that way. When I'm teaching, I'm thinking, you pay me for this. But then, sorry, but then the grading comes in, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah, you
That's
pay
why I
me
don't like it.
because it's work.
That's a lot more work.
It's work, although it's a thrill, when they do really well, then you feel good. But it's work, yeah, to
Yeah.
me, yeah.
Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer or in your writing?
Oh gosh. Well, and I read. I mean, I've actually written other stuff too, other than romance, and I read a lot of different stuff. Um, although I do have some romance, writers that I really do love. Julia Quinn, Tessa Bailey. I could go on and on and on. Um, but I'll admit, given my education, the classic. I'm a huge Jane Austen fan.
Yeah.
My friend, I have the whole A. People sometimes don't want to sit and watch Pride and Prejudice, or as I say, P and P, with me because I'll cite the lines before they're said. That's how much I've been,
Yeah.
I'm just a huge, huge fan. Um, yeah. Um,
But that was like the original enemies to lovers, you know? So
it doesn't
you
get any
can't
Lizzie and
you can't
Darcy.
you can't go wrong with watching all this reading Pride and Prejudice at all.
No, it doesn't get any better. You know, she wrote the mold, I guess, or whatever, put
Yeah.
it out there for us. Yeah.
And we're now adapting it to have sports romance and F1 romance. So
See, that's what's cool. And
yeah.
it's really cool, when, I mean, because I know we've got the tropes and you've got that's the thing with romance, right? It does follow a formula in the,
Yeah.
in terms of the ending, but then it's interesting. Okay, so look, and I'll admit, I know it's nice, like with certain mysteries or other kinds of stories, where you don't know the ending. Okay. But the thing that's interesting about romance is, okay, they're going to get together, but you're like, how is this going to happen? Because
Mm.
whether they're enemies or friends or there's something, right, thrown
Something
in their
happens.
way. And you have to, and you're sort of thinking, how are they going to work this out? And so it's a different kind of puzzle, I guess, you know?
Mm. Puzzles are always so much fun to do though.
Oh God, yes. I agree. I agree.
What advice would you give to a writer working on their first book?
Oh God. And it sounds so, I think it sounds so, yeah, just do it, right?
Yeah.
Don't be a critic. There's a time to be a critic. There's a time to edit and that, but not when you're first writing it, because
Mm.
you'll just stop the creative. You can't, just go. Um, and I remember Nora Roberts said this, and I love this. She said, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And the way I think of that with respect to this is, if you want to write a book, if you don't do it, right, um, it won't get done,
No.
right? And the answer is no. Whether or not you want, to self-publish, or you want to, go to a traditional publisher, get an agent, whatever, it's that's full stop if you don't do it, right? Um,
Yeah.
and of course, because the fear is the answer is going to be no. Trust me, I've had plenty of rejections before I got my agent, and
Yeah.
and even before the publisher, plenty. Um, some people say, "Oh, I could paper a wall with my rejections," and I'm thinking, And I've
Mm.
got it's ridiculous. I have this house, but I live in a rural area. I wanted it for the area because I don't need this size house for just me. I'm used to little apartments. I could paper this house. I could,
Yeah.
with all my rejections. So just do it if you love it. And try to do it without the idea of the goal being,
Mm.
oh, it's got to be a bestseller, or oh, it's got to be published by this person or whatever. Just because you love doing it,
Yeah.
you
Just
know?
write it because
Because
you want it down.
yeah, because that'll see you through. Look, some people have an easier road getting published, and some people have a tough road getting published. But it'll all around be easier for you to, if you do run into roadblocks, and that's usually the case, I think, because it's such a, tough, even if you self-publish, there's so many books out there, then it's hard. How do you market it?
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things. So, that'd be really hard to do if it wasn't something you loved. So you want to write a book, you want to write it, you
Yeah.
know, and just,
Perfect advice.
yeah. And know too that the days, I know me, oh God, in fact, I kind of had one today a little bit earlier as I'm editing the second book. But I'll have days where I'm just like, this is crap. This is awful. It's never gonna, and it's just doom and gloom. It's terrible. Oh my God, I'm never gonna. And then, and then the next day, all of a sudden something comes. And I really kind of think those days that I think are wasted. So some days where I think, oh God, nothing, this is awful. I needed to get through that to get to the day when the stuff is comes.
Yeah.
Like the brain is working. So you got to roll with the punches that way, or at least I do. I shouldn't say that. Maybe other people don't have this is my experience anyways.
Yeah.
So just
But it's still
preparing
helpful to
out
know.
there. Yeah, if you have
Yeah.
that experience, you don't give up just because you have a lousy day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your favorite writing snack or drink if you have one?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, coffee, and I'm serious. I've got my espresso machine. I'm serious about my coffee. So coffee. Um, but then, if I'm being good, I'll try and okay, celery, but then peanut butter with because the celery is a vegetable, so I'll
Yeah.
try to do that kind of thing. But if when I really, I'll admit, when I'm really under the gun and I'm stressed, deadline, and I got to get through it, just about anything, salty, sweet. I love
Yeah.
food. I mean, chocolate, anything lemony. I just
And
and I like the going from salty to sweet.
yeah.
Right? Had some sweet. Oh, I want some salty. Oh, now sweet. Yeah.
It's always good
So
to
just
bounce
about
though.
anything.
I won't get bored of one thing.
Yes, exactly. Then I'll get interested in something else, and then, and it's really bad though too, because when I buy, I don't like to waste. And again, I'm only one person, and there's only certain stuff you can freeze. So I always run into this when I do I'm so stressed and it's a binge mode. I guess I know it's not healthy, but there it is. And I get various stuff from the market, then I'm stuck against when I think I get through it. Okay, well I have to finish it.
Yeah.
I
I
can't
gotta
throw
finish
it
it
out.
now.
Oh, I have to finish it. And it's only me. I can't
I
give it
think
to my
everyone has a
dog.
bit of that though. Like it's here, I may as well finish it. I may as well. Let's not
Exactly.
waste it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And my final question is, who has been the biggest supporter of your writing?
Well, first and foremost, I'd have to go with my mom, but really my family, my mom and sister, really, from yeah, just from way back when. But also too, I have two friends, you know, that really have been supportive too, and it's interesting they're supportive in different ways because one is like my cheerleader. No, I'm like, you don't know how hard it is to, no, it's going to happen. It's going to happen, and it's like she manifests stuff. She says it's going to happen, and then
It
and then it
happens.
happens. I don't know how she does that. Sometimes I think she might be a witch, a good witch, but a witch. Um, and then my other friend who's always just really calm and very rational, and I can rely on her when I get freaked out about how to handle things.
Mm.
She can always sort of lay out reasonable solutions and that, and they've just been through. They're two of my best friends along with my mom and my sister. Yeah.
You need your friends and family, and you also need the cheerleaders.
Absolutely. Oh
That's the
God,
going,
what
yes.
would yeah, yeah, absolutely.